Alright guys, so remember like a year or two ago when I made this video on a YouTuber who might have crashed his plane for views? Well, looks like he might be finally admitting it. Court documents show that Trevor Jacob, a YouTuber and former Olympian, is planning on pleading guilty to destruction and concealment with intent to obstruct a federal investigation. That investigation being the one into whether or not he crashed his plane on purpose in order to make a good YouTube video. He's now likely facing up to 20 years in prison for this stunt. So let's talk about it. Now I know it's been quite a while since we talked about Trevor. Let's go over what happened and the problems I had with his actions at the time. Firstly, he's flying a plane with GoPros attached all over the place, getting every angle on film. While flying high over the Los Padres National Forest, his engine suddenly cuts out completely. Don't worry too much though, because instead of trying to contact air traffic control, instead of trying to find somewhere where he could safely land the plane, this dude just fucking yeets himself out of the plane because he was wearing a parachute. He claims that he always wears a parachute while flying, which is weird and not something normal pilots do. I mean, even in one of his older videos, you could see that this was not true. But anyway, don't worry, you'll notice something about his jump. Did you figure out what was so weird about that? Well, let's imagine you're in an emergency situation. You're ditching your aircraft and you're literally skydiving to escape what you think is a really dangerous situation. So what would you do? If you answered anything but grab a GoPro so I can film my descent, congratulations, you've won. There is absolutely no emergency situation, especially one like this, where you should be panicked, you should be freaking out, that you remember not only to grab the GoPro, but to make sure it's recording before you bail. That's just a ridiculous thing to do if you're actually in an emergency. Then, later on, after he's safely landed in the middle of absolutely nowhere, what does he do? He heads back to the plane. Why? Well, I really couldn't figure that out on my first watch, since he almost immediately leaves it after filming it for a bit to go wander off into the bush, which is not what you should do in an emergency situation, by the way.
Oh my gosh, dude. I have no idea where I am. I'm gonna start walking out of here.
But it seems like the FAA thinks that they know why he went back. You remember how I showed you the footage of the plane's engine stalling earlier, right? How did he get that footage? The FAA seems to think that he hiked out to the plane just to get the GoPros and the footage he needed from the wreckage. Again, not exactly what you would expect someone to do in that situation. All of that stuff led the FAA to suspend Trevor's pilot's license last year, saying that he was careless or reckless so as to endanger the life or property of another, because they believed that he staged the crash on his own in order to get a lot of views on his YouTube video. But now he's facing 20 years in jail. That's a lot worse than just having your license suspended. So why? Well, it looks like prosecutors are alleging that following the crash, Trevor attempted to stop the FAA investigation by doing literally everything that everyone knows not to do after any crime has been alleged, touching everything. You see, the prosecutors are alleging that Trevor obstructed the FAA investigation by going out to the crash site himself with a friend via helicopter, and they retrieved the wreckage. Then the prosecutors say that when he was asked about the location of the wrecked airplane, Trevor told the investigators that he did not know where it was. Then, as if that's not enough, after recovering it, the prosecutors allege that he and his friend drove the wreckage to an airport where they cut it up and destroyed it with the intent to impede and obstruct federal authorities, according to the plea agreement. So yeah, I have absolutely no idea why he would do any of that if he was innocent, and even less of an idea why he would do it if he was guilty. I mean, there is no reality in which any pilot would think that not just recovering the wreckage before getting the go-ahead from the FAA is okay, but to then attempt to destroy it? That's just a new level of completely stupid. Never commit crimes, but if you do, don't commit more crimes to try to cover up whatever other crime you've already committed. The cover-up is usually what gets people, to be honest. Either way, this guy is a scumbag. He literally yeeted himself out of a plane, therefore knowingly yeeting his plane at some random hillside with no one in control of it. He's very lucky that he didn't take out a bunch of hikers or some campers enjoying a meal. Not to mention he's lucky to have landed safely without injuring himself, considering that if he broke his leg or something in the landing, he probably would have died of exposure out in those hills. Just completely stupid. At the end of the day, it seems like we finally know that he did do this for a YouTube video, since the plea agreement states that he did all of these things in order to conceal the fact that he had purposefully abandoned his airplane in flight as part of his scheme to create a video to gain notoriety and to make money, which, at least to me, I'm no lawyer, seems like an admission. Is this the craziest thing anyone's ever done for YouTube fame? What do you guys think of this entire mess? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Have a great day, and God bless you.